Hi everyone, it's John from What Up, and welcome back to another video. And a couple of exciting things happened in the world of the Wheel of Time today. The first one is a Q&A with Rafe Judkins, the showrunner, and Sarah Nakamura, the book consultant. So they both took to X today and basically answered a ton of fans' questions. Now this was made possible due to the fact that the strike for WGA has basically ended. So in other words, the writers were offered pretty much everything they asked for. It was a really good deal for them, and people that are members of the Writers Guild can now actively engage in talking about their projects again. Now, Rafe Judkins has refrained from talking about the Wheel of Time, promoting it, or pretty much doing anything with the Wheel of Time in any capacity whatsoever other than working, because he was still allowed to do that because he was a member of the Writers Guild. Now, that strike is pretty much over now, so Rafe is free to talk to the fans again, and he had a whole lot to say. So he took to X earlier today and answered a ton of questions from fans, and we're going to showcase them here on the channel because, let's face it, I know a lot of you, at least from your comments and the messages I get on Instagram, state that you don't have X accounts at all. You don't go on what is formerly known as Twitter ever, and I do like to keep you folks updated on that. And there's a ton of little tidbits in there about Season 2, a couple things about Season 1, and some things that we may not see till much later, so I want to cover all of that today. Now, the second exciting thing that we're going to talk about is in the next video in this playlist. So basically I dropped two videos almost at the same time tonight. This one is the teaser trailers for episode 7. Make sure that you watch that one. There's a ton of new information in there that gives us hints at what's going to happen tomorrow evening for episode 7. And come speculate with me. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. Now, for those of you who are new to the channel, yes, we talk about Wheel of Time. That's pretty much all we do here. We cover news, leaks, and rumors, as well as we're doing reviews, Easter egg videos, and breakdowns for every single episode of Season 2. So if you like that sort of thing, make sure you subscribe, and of course, like the video down below. We're putting out a ton of content in the next couple of weeks, and when Season 2 is done, I have a ton of Season 3 leaks stockpiled for you folks. So if you haven't already subscribed, make sure you do so you don't miss that stuff. There's some really cool things there. A couple of castings, some things about the sets, also some stuff about the story that we're going to see in Season 3. There's a ton of stuff there. I'm really excited to share it with you folks, so make sure you're around for that. Now, all of that being said, I do have to give a very light spoiler warning for this video because we're talking Season 2. So, spoiler warning. If you have not seen the first season and the first 6 episodes of Season 2 of Sony and Amazon's Wheel of Time show streaming right now on Prime Video, or have not read the first 4 books of Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time series, that's The Eye of the World, The Great Hunt, The Dragon Reborn, and The Shadow Rising, be forewarned, there are very light spoilers for both mediums in today's video because Rafe Judkins and Sarah Nakamura are answering questions about it. So, some things may be spoiled for you folks. You've been warned. All right, that being said, let's get on to those Q&As. So we're going to go through this Q&A by Rafe Judkins. He basically took questions from people for a couple of hours today on X, and a lot of the answers are what you would expect, but some of them are a little surprising. So we're going to go through them. I will be reading off the questions and the answers, or at least what's relevant here. So if you're not actively watching the video, don't worry about reading what's on the screen. I got that for you. Don't worry about that at all. Now, all of that being said, I may miss a few things here and there. It's a really long, I'm not quite sure to call it X post at this point. There's a lot of stuff here, a lot of nuances. So if I miss a couple of things or things that were important and you folks have seen them, let me know in the comments down below. I'm sure there's some stuff in here that I probably may gloss over or I may miss. Either way, please let me know so I can pin the comments so other people can see it as well. So, Rafe Judkins started with saying, I'll try to do a quick Q&A for Season 2 of The Wheel of Time Wednesday morning LA time to celebrate WGA strong victory and What Wednesday. See you soon, Twitter time. For those of you who don't know, WGA basically got everything they asked for. I haven't seen the deal personally, but I've heard from a few people that it does affect, and they're incredibly happy with what they got, which means that a lot of people in the Writers Guild can start talking about their projects again, Rafe Judkins included, part of the reason why we're seeing some stuff from him on the Wheel of Time. Now, the very first question from Weekly Wheel News was, do Barthanes really make the best sandwiches, asking for a dark friend? Now, for those of you who don't know, Barthanes is a dark friend in the books. That's kind of where that play on words came from. And Rafe said, only Rosamund knows. That's pretty funny. Maybe she actually ate the sandwich he made on set. I don't know. Uno's eye patch said, Rafe, are you going to make us fall in love with the messiest queen of all, Elida, aka Masida? And Rafe Judkins says, I've fallen in love with her. Now, for those of you who don't know, I released her casting not too long ago, probably a few weeks ago now. Elida Sedai for season 3 is unofficially, and we can't say officially because it hasn't been dropped by Amazon yet, but I have released the casting as a leak, played by Shohreh Aghdashloo of Expanse fame. So if you didn't know that already, check out the video on my channel. It's a big get for the Wheel of Time. I'm really excited to see her wearing the red dresses of the red Asha in season 3. Now, Uno's eye patch says, Rafe, who's your favorite character from season 2 and why is Hopper the bestest of boys? Uno, I agree with you. Hopper is the bestest of boys. Rafe Judkins says, don't even. Hopper's performance in 208 is the best performance by an animal. Makes me so happy we had real animals instead of CG. So 208 season 2 episode 8, we're going to see Hopper in that particular episode. Does that mean that we're going to see a certain scene that happens with Hopper in the book series? Maybe during that episode? I think so, and I think it's going to be pretty gut-wrenching for a lot of people, including myself and my family who haven't read the books that are watching the show with me. All right, Innkeeper Anas of the Dusty Wheel says Matt calls Minnie Min in episode 6. Was that written in the script or is that something Donal added? Love all the nicknames. Ishi, Two Rivers. Rafe Judkins says that's 100% Donal and 100% gold. I totally agree. I thought it was really cute. Yellow Fringe Shawl says, Sarah Nakamura said to ask you this. You said the Egwene Rena was your favorite two-person scene. What is the approach to creating the whole interaction? How did you and the writers decide to structure it all around that one paragraph in The Great Hunt where Egwene talks about the picture? Rafe Judkins replies, I just read that paragraph prepping for season 2 and it felt like an entire story. It was one of the most impactful stories to me when I read the books and I wanted to figure out how to best do it in this medium. I think the way they handled it was absolutely perfect. Gut-wrenching and hard to watch, in my own opinion, but absolutely perfect. That's what I think. Egwene Elvire, if you don't know who she is, that's Critter XD of TikTok fame, says, when you saw all of the new actors and their scenes as fan-fave characters, we're talking Selene, Elias, Varen, Elaine, Matt, Avienda, Lanfear, how did it feel? Any favorite moments, scenes with the newbies? Ray says, Matt has a scene in 208 that brings happy tears to my eyes every time. What could that be, folks? I really don't know, but I'm guessing it has something to do with the horn, and I'm pretty excited for that. Watt Series, and if you don't know who Watt TV Series is, go to their webpage right now, www.wattseries.com. They leak all of the Wheel of Time news, far more than me. They're absolutely fantastic folks. They say, do you feel like this season put you back on track to where you thought you'd be and where you wanted to take the story before COVID and all of the interruptions? Rafe says, yeah, and also beyond COVID. We knew right up front we'd have to do books 2 and 3 combined because they have the same arc. So at the end of 108, it required us to throw a bunch of juggling balls up in the air, and we needed to very carefully land them all in the correct place by end of 208, so that all the characters had the necessary experiences they need to do the story of Book 4. I think we achieved that, including some of the unexpected swerves and gusts of wind we had to tackle. Now, for those of you who don't know, Rafe Judkins has said very publicly a number of times that Season 2 would contain elements of book 2 and 3, and that doesn't necessarily mean we're getting the stone in season 2. In fact, I'm pretty sure we don't, but it does mean that the arc in book 2 and the arc in book 3, especially with the Forsaken and Rand's character and who he fights and some of the things that go on, they're very similar. The books themselves are paralleled in a number of ways, and to redo them would have been redundant, so that's why they kind of combine them. So that's what he's talking about there. Matt Coffin, Lane's BFF, says, this is important for me personally. Are the Finn in or out? Rafe Judkins says, which Finn are in? And then Sarah Nakamura comes back and says, obviously we have the Finn. We have Donal Finn. A non-answer, of course. And I think that's on purpose because they have... I don't think they've gotten there with the story yet. They are filming season 3. They're about halfway through. I think they're filming up until at least November of this year, or later, actually. I don't know if they've gotten that far yet with it, so they're being very cagey about that answer. I really hope they are. The Finn would be really cool, but it wouldn't shock me if they cut them out personally. Then we have Sunnel Battles says, how confident are you the show will become the major hit it deserves to be and get the 8 seasons arc you envisioned? Also, congrats on a fantastic season and on a great WGA deal. Now, this, for me, was kind of a terrible answer. Not that Rafe said anything wrong, it just made me a little sad. Rafe says, the world's very difficult right now. We've had to be one of the only shows to premiere without actor publicity. It's incredibly damaging to viewership numbers to not have Rosamund, Daniel, and the others out there, so I anticipate we will need to build and build this season. So why that's upsetting to me is because you can read between the lines there, and you can tell that Rafe is maybe a little worried about this because they didn't have all the promotions they wanted. And let's face it, Amazon did not push the Wheel of Time for season 1. I don't think it was an afterthought. I just think that the marketing team was incredibly inept for season 1, and they're also inept for season 2, in my opinion. Although the strikes hurt them quite badly. A lot of the marketing and a lot of the push for season 1 was done by the cast, the crew, production team. That didn't happen for season 2. But, in spite of that, and we're not talking because of the marketing, but in spite of the lack of marketing for season 2, it hit number 1 in over 97 countries at one point. It is a massive hit. It is a huge moneymaker for Amazon. I can't see them not going further, but I assume there's always that doubt. If it's not a breakout smash hit, you have to worry that the show may not go on. Now, as of right now, we do know they're filming season 3, but we have heard nothing about season 4 being renewed just yet, so we're kind of crossing our fingers that season 2 does really well, and it has been so far. If it ends on a very strong note and season 3 does well, we'll likely get more. That's my take on that. All right. Maurice Sadai says, congratulations, everyone I've spoken to think the writing in season 2 is stronger and gives the actors more chance to shine. I'd love to know what you and the writers learned from the experience of season 1 that changed how you approach writing seasons 2 and 3 of The Wheel of Time. Rafe Judkins says it's the most of the same writers for both seasons, but we were given freedom to have longer episodes in season 2, which I think really makes a huge difference in our ability to tell the story from an emotional, character-driven point of view. That was one of the big complaints a lot of people, including myself, had for season 1. The pacing was off. It was too rushed. They cut too much. They do have longer episodes. We're talking a fair bit longer in season 2, and it really shows. I think the episodes in season 2 are able to get through the story arcs in a much smoother, complete fashion, and it's really, really helped out. Grady says, Lanfear and Ishii are positively delicious this season. Which other next chosen are you most looking forward towards fleshing out? Rafe Judkins says, I love them all equally except for my favorite. I super love that answer. The Last Battle says, hi, Rafe. Congrats on the WAG victory. Question, which episode do you know will land well with the fans? And what episode do you think might push a few buttons or test a few people? Rafe replies, I thought 206 would land well, even though it's mostly just one paragraph expanded out. And I think 207 will push some buttons, as it had some of the most iconic scenes from the books mixed with some storytelling required for the show version of the story. That's kind of interesting, because we know we're getting 207 tomorrow night. And the teaser that we talk about in my next video does give us some clues in that, and I had said that it would likely make some diehard book fans happy, considering some of the stuff we saw, but it's different. It's a much different version of what we saw in the books, but we're getting little tidbits of it. I'm excited for it anyway. All right, so does Yosha do facial acting exercises in the mirror? Because damn, he is so good. And that is from Kate, is only posting about the Wheel of Time. Rafe Judkins replies, I know he did with prosthetics. And then there's kind of a happy face afterwards. We're pretty sure we're getting Flicker at some point this season. We have 2 episodes left for it. I don't know what's going to involve in that. We're going through portal stones or what they're going to do. But Rafe's saying with prosthetics, at one point or another, we're probably seeing Old Man Rand. And we saw that in the book series where he kind of flickered to the future in a separate reality when they were going through the flicker scenes, and he was fighting the Shadow and the 2 Rivers with the One Power after having the wasting disease. It was incredible, one of the most incredible scenes in the books, in the early books rather, that I really enjoyed reading again and again. I'm hoping that's what he's referencing to. If we get Old Man Rand just unleashing with the power and killing Trollocs in the 2 Rivers as part of Flicker, I'll be extremely happy. All right, so Walking the Way says, how did it feel to drop Ji-Ito, Karakarn, and Teleran Yoroid all in one episode? Rafe says it felt even better that random watchers were able to follow them seamlessly. And that's been something that I haven't had many complaints about this season. They've done a very good job of either explaining things or leaving things up to chance just a little bit, rather than just the brute force of trying to force everything down everybody's throats quickly with less time to explain, as they did in season 1. So I think in season 2, they're doing a seamless job of introducing a ton of new concepts in a small roundabout way that non-book readers really do understand. All right, is there a scene in this week's episode? So this is talking about season 2, episode 7. Sorry, this is from Ish What 2 Spoilers. They say, is there a scene in this week's episode that you know fans will love? Any hint for your favorite scene in the episode? Rafe Judkins says, Cat crosses the courtyard, finally. We've seen hints of that in the teaser trailers, and I'm excited for it personally. It's one of those things that you read about in the books, and you're like, oh, that would have been cool to see. We're finally going to get to see it. I'm really excited for that. Jason Fifield says, obviously Liandra's excellent character and story arc for the show has been expanded from the book. Is she also being written as an amalgamation of any other book characters, or does she stand alone for the show? Rafe Judkins replies, Liandra stands alone. This would have been an incredible bombshell a few weeks ago when everyone didn't know if Elida was going to be in the show, and they thought that perhaps Liandra and Elida were combined. We now know that Elida is cast in season 3, so still really cool that we know Liandra's alone there. Edward says, what part of the 6 episodes have we already seen have you the most excitement or interest in how it will link into future plot lines from the books due to changes in the show? And Rafe Judkins says, Anavir. That's interesting. So this, I think, either means Anavir is not one and done. She may feature in other episodes much later on as one of the Kyrene nobles, or she's going to do something really, really crazy in the next episode. Really important, really far-reaching. I don't know which is true, but I'm excited to find out. So this is another one from Katie's only posting about the Wheel of Time. Are we introducing some failability to Min's visions in comparison with the books? Rafe Judkins says there's a deleted scene coming that helps. So there's a lot of people thinking that perhaps her visions aren't entirely accurate. I think they're still going to be accurate. It's my personal opinion, and we don't know for sure yet, but I think it's going to be interpretation. Just like in the books, there's a lot of interpretation that you can do. Everything is open, and it may not be exactly what we're seeing. Aditya says, will Moradin be in the show? I know, the Ashamiel fella is more sane, but Moradin was a completely different character that presented a different set of challenges to the good guys. Rafe Judkins says we wove a lot of Moradin and his philosophy into Ashamiel this season. And I've mentioned that in a few of my videos. Ashamiel seems far more like endgame Moradin than he does early Ashamiel, because early Ashamiel was not really that great of a character, in my opinion. He was pretty 2D. His motivations were lacking. It's not until we've seen him as Moradin much later on that he really became a fleshed out, interesting character. And Ferris is doing, in my opinion, a wonderful job of portraying the fleshed out Ashamiel. All right, up next is My Name is Barely in the Books. Can you ever forgive my unrelenting sarcasm involving origins in August? Rafe Judkins says no. For those of you who aren't aware of that little inside joke, we were told that we would get more Origins episodes last August. That was announced. It was pretty much in the bag. We all thought it was going to happen, and then it never did. It was just completely ignored by Amazon in every way, shape, and form, with zero explanation afterwards. We never got the episodes, and they never referenced the release date that was given to us. So it's kind of become the joke that August means never. That's the inside joke there. Mike M says, what is the one thing you've been dying to talk about or refer to that you've not been able to while all this has been going on? I'm so happy you're back and things are looking so much brighter for the writers, etc. I'll raise a glass or two to you all later. Rafe Judkins says, more than anything, to praise the work for amazing writers and actors. Even just this last week, both Remy Park and Madeline Madden delivered at such unbelievably high levels. The show couldn't be what it is without them. I totally agree. The writers have really knocked it out of the park this season, and the actors are crazy good this season. They're really above and beyond. They were great season 1, but I think season 2 they're even much better. All right. Dean of 316 says, when will season 4 be approved by Amazon? Also, season 2 has been tremendous so far. Really hoping episode 7 and episode 8 end the season on a high note. Oh, and thank you, Rafe. Rafe Judkins says, ask the Bez. I'm ready whenever. So we really don't know just yet. Maybe we'll get some leaks on it in the coming weeks or months, but there's been nothing official from Amazon for sure. Steve says, waves lighter in the air of memory of Steve. For those of you who don't know, there was an actor, Phil Snowden, I believe. Yeah, Phil Snowden, that was cast in season 1 as the name Steve, and no one really knows who he is yet. It's been kind of a mystery in the fandom. I don't know if he was in a deleted scene, if he was an extra in the background, or if he was someone under heavy prosthetics, but no one can tell who Steve was, and it's become an inside joke in the fandom. So Ray says, still makes me laugh every time I think about it, and Sarah Nakamura commented, Steve lives. All right, so next question is from Polly Walnuts. It's obvious the season 2 production quality is higher than season 1. Was that a result of not being handcuffed by COVID restrictions, criticism, or both? Rafe answers, season 2 shot before season 1 aired. Our teams are just incredible. I totally agree. I think that season 2 was just the experience was showing, and they had a little more freedom. That's my personal opinion. Topher 1979 says, welcome back and congratulations on the well-deserved new deal. Loving season 2 so far, but definitely missing Watt Origins. Were they an exclusive season 1 thing, or maybe they come back at some point? Rafe answered, I missed them too. That doesn't answer the question. It's more of an I said I answer, but I agree that we'll likely not see them again. Maybe we will. It'd be cool if we did, maybe between seasons, but we're definitely not getting them right now. Funny Bunny Val says, loving the hell out of the season 206 hit like a ton of bricks. Can't wait to see what comes next. Now that I've laid some praise on you, could you do me a solid, just kind of write a rhyme of free, and maybe let my boys Rand and Matt bro out for a bit in peace? Thanks. Rafe says, my biggest sadness of season 2, so we couldn't do the boys in the hunt for the horn. I love those three together. Silly Dabbit says, hype, any news in the God of War show you can share with us, as well as how you plan to balance it and what? Rafe says, I come up doing 22 episodes a year. 16 every 2 years is very easy, especially when you're working with amazing geniuses like Mark and Hawk. For those of you who don't know, Rafe Judkins was also showrunner on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., as well as some other shows that had multiple episodes per season, far more than we see with Wheel of Time. I have talked about it here on the channel before. He's going to be doing both, and neither should suffer, because there are off seasons between them where he can continue to work and he's not just relaxing, because he is that kind of person. He just likes to work. He's happiest when he works. Simon Boudreau says, welcome back, Rafe. Congratulations to you and all the team for season 2 of The Wheel of Time. The show truly began to take a splendid turn. I just wonder if you still continue to push the boundaries for the scope as the story progresses. In my mind, it is on the right track. Thanks, Rafe. Rafe Judkins says, I've always said that people grew up with the books, that the tone and the storytelling and the emotions of the first progress and mature until you reach the incredible depths of the final books. I hope the show is the same. Season 3 is more sophisticated and rich and deep than Season 2. I've heard that too from a lot of people working on the show, that everything is just better. I heard that about Season 2, that it was just way better, and it is. And I've heard the same things about Season 3 personally from people working on the show that say that Season 3 is as much better as Season 2 was than Season 1. Did I say that right? Season 3 is better than Season 2, as Season 2 is better than Season 1. I think that makes more sense. Punk, welcome back, Rafe. What's your favorite Moiraine scene from Season 2 and why? Rafe says, my favorite is in 208, but I love the one in 206 in the attic with Yennefer. Her wish to be someone other than who she had to be. She and Rand share a lot in the destiny they were burdened with, and her heroism in pursuing it was really inspiring, I think. AW says, will we find out why Loyal survived? That's the biggest gripe I have so far. Really the only one. I'm just sitting here in WAFO torture mode. WAFO means watch and find out, for those of you who don't know. Brave Dragon says, we all have scars we bear from COVID. Loyal has one applied right to his chest whenever he shoots without a shirt. So that's one of the things that a lot of people have asked. How did he survive? He just did. He didn't die. He never died on screen. He got stabbed. A lot of people got stabbed. None of them died. It wasn't supposed to be a fake out death, and a lot of people took it that way. So he does have the scars, Rafe says. So there we go. All right. Pete Stefan says, enjoying Season 2 so far. It's a nice improvement. Is the One Power still two distinct separate halves? Saedar and... I have a hard time pronouncing things for those of you who are part of the channel for a long time. Saedar and Saidin that work together to balance the pattern and turn the wheel itself. Will this be explained in the show with the same terminology as the books? Rafe's answer, we are trying to explain the One Power as it's emotionally relevant to the characters and go deeper visually simultaneously to that explanation. Two halves of the One Power get more deeper as the series goes. That is exactly the same as in the books. We really didn't get great explanations until we learned more in the books, and I think they're doing the same thing in the show. And that's all of Rafe's Q&A. So let's jump over to Sarah Nakamura's Q&A, because she did one as well. It wasn't quite as long, but she did have some really good answers to some questions. All right, so for those of you who don't know, Sarah Nakamura is the book expert for the show. She basically is the brain that they pick whenever they have any questions about anything book-related whatsoever. She works with everyone on the show. Writers, set designers, costumers, prop people. She does it all, and she is probably the most knowledgeable person on the planet when it comes to the Wheel of Time, and she's probably read the series more than anyone else in the world. That's just a little background on what she does. She is incredible at her job as far as I'm concerned, and the show is incredibly lucky to have her. So, that aside, she says, okay, where do we start? What do we want to discuss? I'm ready to chat. Let me know. So she does a little Q&A too. First question is from Maiden of the Spear. Zelia and Madeline did an incredible job. Did the actors get a really big hug after the scenes in episode 6? Watan Prime's book nerds, that's Sarah Nakamura, states, absolutely yes, I give the best mama hugs too, so we all had space for them to feel all the things. I just held and hugged Maddie super tight to reinforce her. Hillary, the Ocean Ogier, says, okay, here's my biggest question. Whomst told Ferris to make Ishii so homoerotic in his scenes with the boys? I need to thank them. He's been so much fun to watch this season, and thank whoever wrote Ishii Dear. We loved that fan service. Sarah says, I believe my soul that he just lives in that space and we all exist with it. Yellow Fringe Saul says, you said Egwene and Rena was your favorite two-person scene. How did you and the writers decide to structure the whole episode around just that one paragraph in the books where Egwene talks about the picture? What was the approach to creating the whole Egwene-Rena interaction? Sarah says, I really love this question, and one that I think is better left for Rafe Judkins to answer when he finds time to do one of his amazing Q&As. That was answered earlier, if you remember, just a few minutes ago when we talked the other Q&A. Yelger Woodstress says, what is the hardest battle you had to fight in the writer's room as book expert this season? Sarah says, we can talk about battles after the season ends, maybe. But the biggest challenge was introducing the Seanchan and the Aiel to the team, working through the big notable things about their cultures, as well as the nuances of each, and providing as much historical context as possible. You gotta understand that a lot of the writers didn't read the books, and Sarah is the books to them, so that would be hard. Reading the books a number of times, I still forget things about the Aiel and the Seanchan that I'm reminded about here and there, so that would be a tough job. The Nerdy Arab says, will all Aiel have Captain American level of power combat skills as Aviendha has been shown to have? Sarah says, lol, she doesn't need a fancy shield with kinetic absorbent capabilities. Aviendha is the force and energy herself. And absolutely she is. She's cool as shit as far as I'm concerned. Roleplay Radio says, I noticed storylines are being interchanged between characters. It makes sense given the massive list of characters and what. Aviendha's intros was very reminiscent of the scene in Book 3 where Perrin releases Gaul from his cage. Does this mean we won't be seeing Gaul as a character? And she says, not necessarily, with kind of a sly looking winky face. I'm almost sure we're getting Gaul. Not 100% on that, but I think we'll see him. The Will of the Wheel. Watch those spoilers. I'd like to ask how Rima Aes Sedai, the Yellow Agile, was able to use the power as a weapon when she wasn't in the last depths. Desperate defense of her life. What did she do to convince herself? Also, why was Against Shadowspawn left out of the third oath? Sarah says, wasn't she? The mere existence of the Adam is a threat to her life for Rima. She planned to have Basson kill her rather than allowing herself to be collared. I believe she felt her life threatened at every moment she was in Fallen. The three oaths are subjective to the individual. Remember, they're up for interpretation, folks, and that's what she's saying here. Cohort 8 Games Dawson. Please pass along our thanks to the cast, crew, writers, and all involved. Season 2 is phenomenal. We owe you a lifetime supply of Dr. Pepper. Episode 6 was so powerful. Madeline and Zelia blew us away, and Donal with Yosha, was a needed bit of heartwarming. So which scene? She just says, I will. Thank you. Doesn't talk about the scene. Kate is only posting what the Wheel of Time says. Have we seen Lanfear's dream interference more than has been explicitly shown? Sarah says, watch and find out. Oh, too far there. Lily Winder, what do you think of Liandrin? Where will her story go next? Will she receive the redemption arc, or will she go deeper into the darkness and never find her way to the light again? Sarah says, one of the most conflicting aspects of this season for me is that I feel so much empathy for Liandrin. Speculated away as to her arc, looking forward to hearing the theories. I'm excited about that. All right. Rant Almore states, hi, what are the rules for sensing and seeing channelers the power? How does the camera operate from specific point of views along these rules? Was the War of Power still a thing? Do y'all intend for certain things to be Ta'veren effects? And what are the wings Rishi... Speaking is hard for me. What are the rings Ishii, etc. wear? Those are the things they wear in their hand. They look like a little ring around their four fingers. Sarah says, regarding channeling, we've had to make some changes fundamentally to the mechanics of the One Power. In the case of women sensing, seeing, etc., we're saying that if a woman is embracing, other channelers can sense the power and strength, but they can't if a channeler is not actively embracing. We're saying the ability to sense a channeler who is not an active is a talent with a capital T. Logain has this talent and could see Rand by way of an aura around him. The size and brightness was a creative decision I wasn't in on, so I can't speak to the specifics of that one. We are not currently doing any point of view perspective in regards to the weaves being visible, etc., as getting the right coverage for scenes is already challenging with the effects, so it's an added layer that isn't the top of the I need lists. And that was the end of her Q&A. Some really neat stuff in there, especially with regards to the channeling. Answered quite a few questions a lot of the fans had. I'm excited that they are doing this now because we're going to get a lot more nuanced information about the seasons. All right, folks, those were the 2 Q&As. I expect a ton more engagement from the production team and other members of the Wheel of Time over the next couple of weeks. Remember, we only got about 2 weeks left of this. We have episode 7 coming out tomorrow, and then episode 8 is coming out a week after that, and then season 2 is done. And then we're in waiting mode for season 3. I'll start releasing some leaks here and there. We'll talk about news. We'll do a lot of speculation. There's a ton to fill the time in between seasons. We did it for season 1 and season 2, and that was a long time. We're talking almost 2 years. So we can do it for season 2 to season 3. I'm sure of that. Don't worry about that, folks. But because they can talk now, and because there's only a couple of weeks left, I'm expecting a lot of engagement. A lot of engagement is probably going to mean a lot of videos from me. So expect a ton of videos over the next little bit. I may have to ramp up the number of videos I put out based on what comes out in social media and releases for the show. But don't worry about that. I definitely will be covering every little bit of news that's coming out there because it's a whole lot of fun for me. Now, all of that being said, what did you folks think of the Q&A? Are you happy that Rafe's back talking to the fandom? And how many of you recognized your own names or other names of people you know on Twitter of Time? Because I know a lot of people that watch the channel don't do Twitter or X as it's called now, but some of you do, and I know for a fact that some of you are probably going to recognize a lot of those names in those Q&As. It's a whole lot of fun. Either way, thank you so very much for sticking with here to the very end, and here's to many more.